before anybody says anything or clicks off the video or anything, I am not actually playing Minecraft. Okay, look, I am, but I'm just showing a tutorial on how to create something that I've made in a few of my worlds that I've made in survival. I will tell you, this thing is definitely really useful. It's much more faster than what you typically would have, so on and so forth. It's just all around improved. So let's get into this then. So you might be wondering what's off in the distance behind me. That is what I'll be showing you how to make. It's quite simple, but at the same time, there are many places in which it can be complicated, just because it's overall frustrating. If this thing doesn't work, it takes a while to fix it, and so on and so forth. It's just horrible. But enough about how bad it is. Let's get up close and personal with this thing and actually talk about how good this thing is. So here it is. Now you might be looking at this wondering, what the heck is this thing? Well, allow me to demonstrate, or at least just first of all show you what's going on here. So obviously in here we have, your typical redstone circuit that's going on, creating simple pulse that keeps turning on and off this redstone signal here, which will activate droppers. Now those droppers will eventually become useful for another particular reason. Gosh dang it, I can't place a block. Anyway, so to get the full idea of what's going on here, you have a minecart with a hopper in it, which what you would do is you would put in basically anything you want to put into a furnace. It goes up, continues to go up, goes across, drops whatever items into these droppers, which then gets put into these furnaces. Now, once it's done being cooked or smelted or whatever, there's another hopper back behind it that puts them into this dropper, and the redstone signal drops it into the water. Now, what the water will do is it'll carry it into the chest, because there's a hopper right there, obviously, which is connected to the chest. Now, you might be wondering why this is here. Mostly just because I noticed originally, whenever items would come through the flowing water, sometimes they'd be moving too fast for the hopper to grab it, and they just end up flying off and not going into the chest. So this is here for two reasons: one, just because it looks good, and two, to prevent that from happening. So let's get a look at how this works now. Alright, so as you can see, I have some iron ore, some mutton, chicken, and cod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw these things in, turn this on, and off it goes. And it comes back down, goes right back up. Now, as this is cooking, eventually it'll drop out into the water and go into the chest. See? There it goes. Now, I would, if I could find a way to change out the items, I would. Instead of having it all just drop the same item at once. I wish I could change that, but quite frankly, I don't know how. So, if any of you guys have an idea on how to change that, let me know in the comments. Keep in mind, this is one of my first biggest, innovations with redstone. I mean, yeah, like I said, I figured out how to do this before using a much simpler concept. But this is probably one of the more, I don't want to say advanced things, but one of the more cool things that serves a bigger purpose that's done with redstone. So let's show you how to make this thing. Alright, so here are the simple items that you're going to need. Obviously these here and the glass and whatnot, like those kinds of items, they could be any block you want. They could be dirt for all I care. But what you are going to need is a block of redstone, furnace, dropper, and a chest, oak trapdoor. you're gonna need that. You can put any trapdoor, like I said, doesn't matter. You need some water, minecart with hopper, powered rail, normal rail, redstone repeater, and a hopper. You're also going to need a lever down here at the far end, and also I would recommend having some form of light source. I used a lantern because, well, it's new to the update and I just wanted to see what this looked like. So you can kind of see how this all plays out. I tried to make it look as nice as possible, just because I'm like, okay, look, this is a really straightforward thing. I'm not going to make it look bad. So let's get started on this. Okay, so to start things off, what you want to do is you want to make sure you have a nice flat area, which, well, that was kind of hard to find with my world. There's definitely not any flat area around here. It's pretty hard to find this spot. I got kind of lucky. But anyway, one of the first things you want to make sure, like I said, you have a nice flat area, and you want to build this thing. You want to build it pretty wide. You don't want to go too wide, because what's going to end up happening is you're either going to have too many furnaces, or you're not going to have enough power from the rails so that it won't get up and be able to drop everything into the hoppers, and you know, you're just going to end up having a pretty rough mess, because it's not going to work. So what I did here is, you can see approximately how far wide I went with it just by looking at the backside. Here, this way, you also have enough room for height to get up and to make sure you have the right setup for the hoppers, droppers, the furnaces, the rails, so on and so forth. Because that's kind of an important part of this. Obviously, you don't have that. None of this is going to be functional. Alright, so now we're talking about the hoppers, droppers, and furnaces. You can make a song out of that. It sounds pretty cool. Hoppers, droppers, and furnaces. Anyway. So, in order for you to be able to get the right process and everything, and make sure that it all drops at the right time, you want to have your hopper at the top. Make sure you have a rail going over it, so that way the minecart with the hopper can drop items into it. So then it funnels down into the furnace here. Now, once it's done cooking, what should be in there will drop down to this hopper. It'll drop down into this hopper, and as you can see, the hopper is then attached to this dropper here, which obviously, as we know, the simple redstone signal that's going across it, which I turned off for now because it was really getting annoying, goes across it and activates that to drop it into the water. One major thing about the water, and you gotta make sure of this or else it isn't gonna work, is from your source block, well, actually including your source block, you let the water run off just normally. Okay, because everybody knows that when you place down a water block, the source block, from there it'll span out to 8 other blocks. Now, you gotta make sure this is the case, because if not, you're gonna end up maybe somehow, I don't know how you're gonna do this, having the water go too far, or you're gonna have it go too short, which you really don't want, because then something's probably gonna end up flooding. And I don't think now, with the items floating on water instead of sinking like they used to, the hopper's not going to catch it. Say, like if the hopper were placed right here on the 3rd block in, I think that's the 3rd, no, the 4th block in, I don't know if it would catch the item, because like I said, they now float, meaning the hopper would be down there and the item would be floating up here. So just like, that's why I'm saying I don't know if it would catch it or not, because of the, I want to say hitboxes, but it's the most logical form of wording that I could come up with. And if you know anything about Minecraft, you'll understand that what I'm saying makes sense, and it's also kind of like a safety precaution. So, you know, it's you got to make sure it's 8 blocks long. For all I care, you could have more than 8 of these things. I mean 4. 4. Jesus, I'm losing my mind. You could have more of these things. You could have, I don't know, 8 total, I would think, looking at a logical perspective. If you wanted to double up on this and to make 2 of them, like right next to each other, and have this part be the center and continue on, have it like mirrored in a way, that you could also do that. So, like I said, you can have more than 4 of these things, but I would just, for me, 4 seemed to be a good number, just to kind of go off of, to show the tutorial with. I didn't want to go with too many, because then the creation of the railing would get a little weird, and railing's gotten really complicated within this last update, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Alright, so now we're on to the railing section of this behemoth. Sure, we'll just go with that. What you want to make sure, there's this little trick that you can do in Minecraft where what you do is you have 2 rails next to each other, or 1. I usually go with 2 just so you can get a better like reassurance that it's going to be able to move somewhere. But anyway, what you would do, and I'll show you the demonstration here. Gotta start moving things on me. I'm still getting kind of used to this update because they've now decided, hey, you know what, let's move some things on people here. So as you can see, they're going in this direction, and you place one on top here, you get that little incline there from the 1. But you can break that and put a block on top of it, and the incline still remains. Now, I know this is an old trick, but it's very useful in this case, because you absolutely need it in order for the cart to continue going back and forth. Now, another thing with the railing, powered rails and normal rails, there's some form of glitch between the 2 of them, where if you have them change on an incline here, the cart just stops. And I mean just stops. Even if you have like stupid amounts of speed build up, like it'll come back. Say this one was a normal one, like these 2 were normal rails, and this one was a powered rail, it would just come through and stop. Just stop. No reason why, it just doesn't work, which is why you need to make sure that you don't have anything that changes on an incline, which is why going into the turn here, now I don't trust turns with the minecarts because have you seen the way these things look when they turn? But I didn't have one turning here, or a powered rail going into a turn here, because, well, immediately after the turn follows an incline, which I imagine is pretty hard for a minecart to do with the coding and everything. And honestly, we've seen how minecarts look when they just go around in a circle. Like, there's a video of that somewhere where the game gets so glitched that the cart literally goes off the rail and continues going into circles. It's so weird. But just make sure you don't have any rail changes on an incline, and you'll be perfectly fine. Now, when you're building the rails, you want to make sure you have it going up at a steady incline, and then have it go across your hoppers. Now, you want to do the exact same trick as shown down there up here, so that way it goes back. If it doesn't go back, well, obviously then it's not going to be able to drop all the items in one go, and you're going to have to do it multiple times, sending up multiple cards, so on and so forth. It's just going to end up being a major mess. So, man, let me catch my breath here. So, no changed rails. Make sure you have inclines at both ends. Keep a steady incline, and you'll be perfectly fine with it. Basically what this is this is a circuit in which what it does is it continuously sends a redstone signal around and around and around and around and never stops. It's like a paradox, never ends. See, all you gotta do is just have... Okay, that was weird. All you gotta do is have... Oh jeez, let me try going out. Is have some form of redstone signal, like a lever or something, or redstone block. I prefer redstone block because you don't have to worry about smaller hitboxes. And you just gotta place it and break it, and then you gotta do it quick, so that way the circuit can start. See, I'll show you a better example here. I have one here. Now you might be wondering why this one's going slower. It's because I changed the rate from the redstone repeaters. I just figured I'd do that, just show off a better example, and not have to worry about it flying around and end up catching itself and just becoming one solid redstone, I don't know, activation system. So, like I said, what that does, triggers the droppers, everything goes into the hopper and funnels into the chest. Now, as far as all of this flashiness goes, with the diorite, you know, everything else, you don't need that. Like I said, you could build this in the side of a mountain. I've done that personally, and it's worked perfectly fine. But anyway, as long as you can pull this off you're perfectly fine. Like I said, you don't need to enclose the circuit. You don't need to make the start point look fancy or everything. Heck, you don't even need the glass here. Honestly, I would recommend keeping the glass, so that way you can see if anything goes wrong. But like I said, feel free to make it out of whatever you want. I don't care. It's not going to bother me. And honestly, this was kind of fun to create and talk you guys through. If anybody has any questions about this, leave it in the comments. I will check that, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Besides that, I guess we can call this the Auto-Smelter. We'll call it the Auto-Smelter. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys for joining me and watching this tutorial. Hopefully this helps you guys in Minecraft, if any of you guys still play it anymore. But yeah, just feel free to try this out. Heck, even in creative mode. It's just a fun little thing to do. But